Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Better Sex Podcast, where we have unfiltered conversations about sex and relationships so that you can have the best sex and the most satisfying relationship on your terms. These conversations are often raw and unfiltered, so they may not be appropriate for all ears. So please listen with care. And if you find that this conversation is something that you want more of, please join me, Deborah Cat, on the school platform with the Better Sex community. It's where we have more unfiltered conversations, where we can ask each other questions, because here's the thing. We don't get a whole lot of insight into sex and relationships because it's not something that we talk about. So, today is going to be a little bit unusual. I am here with my friend and my colleague Marha, and we're kind of picking up the thread from another conversation. We had an incredible conversation about desire, and what was it? It's got years ago now.
Probably desire, relationships, expressing yourself, right? Like really, how can we be open and vulnerable in what we desire and want? And also then create it in connection. I think
Yeah,
that's probably it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But one of the big themes was you talking about having a baby, and now
Yeah.
you have a toddler. So it's
Yes, I do. It just turned 1. It's an amazing thing. It's a miracle. Babies are miracles. Humans, I would say, are miracles. But yeah, it's such a beautiful thing to see.
I
Yeah.
love hearing that. Well, before we dive in too much further, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Deborah. And it's always so great to be with you. So my name is Marga Bardinski. I'm an intimacy, sex and relationship coach based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And I've been doing this work for over 15 years now. And so I'm really passionate. And I also stand for people being really free to express themselves. Like Deborah just said about, we don't really get educated about what happens in a great relationship. How can we maintain great relationships, create the intimacy that we love? So that's part of my mission, to really create places for intimate connections and be really intimate, connected with each other, which is way beyond sex, right? It's really about being vulnerable, authentic, open, and free to create relationships that you really love. And I think, and part of that is I do embodiment work, kink practices, tantric practices, so different flavors of embodiment work and coaching, transformational coaching, to understand some of the patterns that run you in the background. And I do think that you can only think about intimacy and connection so much, you also need to experience them. So that's why we have the mind and the body represented, I'd say.
Absolutely. I love that. And, I think this is one of the things that we share, and one of the things that brings us together is this idea that, you can talk about relationships, you can talk about sex, you can talk about communication skills and all of the things you need, but until you actually put them into practice,
Yeah.
it doesn't do a whole lot it doesn't make a big difference.
No, exactly. Yeah, sorry. I was getting excited, but you continue.
Jump in anytime. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny. I was just writing about this the other day. So my partner and I have been doing, actually my fiance, because we're getting married.
Yes.
Um, and I have been doing Pilates together for about 2 years now. And we first started, first of all, it was like, Pilates? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because I had a certain idea about who does Pilates and, what it was and everything else. And so,
Yeah.
and I didn't fit that picture until I did. But I was realizing, we've been doing it for about 2 years, and things that were just not, my body was just not doing 2 years ago,
Yeah.
my body's able to do now. And of course, part of that is just the repetition and the practice of it. So, all these different places where practice comes off the mat and into our lives.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. Yeah. Oh, and I'm glad. It reminds me that I should definitely do more movement or Pilates. Don't know if I can find myself in Pilates now, Deborah, but you sure bring something there to me. Yeah. And it's about practice, right? It's really inside gives us something, but insides alone don't always then get us to the other side. We all know how to lose weight,
Hmm.
eat less, and very general type, like eat less, move more. No. But then by knowing that, it doesn't mean you're actually going to do it.
Hmm.
Right. So knowing something doesn't always move you into doing something because there's stuff that stops you from it, gets in the way. And then you need to actually, yeah, be really in your life actively practicing not eating that cake to discover what's coming up there for you.
Hmm.
I hope this makes sense. Did it make sense?
So far, so good. I mean, what I'm
Okay.
hearing is that, we have the theory, but if it stays theory, it doesn't do us a whole lot of good.
No, it's great insight, but where it actually happens is in your life in action. That's where sustainable change happens. That's where you discover what works and doesn't work. And then especially in intimacy and relationships, sexuality, you can talk all the way until I don't know how you say that, until the cows come home. Is that the English expression? Right? No. Okay. But it's like it's not gonna do anything until you're in close closeness with your partner and discover, oh, here I open my mouth, here I shut down, here I'm getting shy, I'm protected, I
Mhm.
become attacked, I'm gonna be on the attack, all of that, and work with whatever comes up. So yeah.
I'm curious if you have an example of either a communication piece or something that you find yourself doing or that you practice so that it's now second nature.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. So in sex, I was always busy with my partner. If I would be intimate with someone,
Mhm.
um, I was very insecure about expressing what I wanted. I wasn't even sure what I wanted or how to say what I desired or what was pleasurable for me.
Mhm.
And so I would be just thinking and be in my head,
Mhm.
and I would just go along with what was happening.
Mhm.
And that was sometimes unpleasurable for me. I would do something because I thought I had to. And so what I practiced was actually slowing down. So first I actually had to learn how to feel and get connected back to my body. I had
Mhm.
to slow down and feel actually, do I feel like this right now? Does my body feel like a yes to this kind of touch? What is my impulse now in this intimate moment?
Mhm.
And learn to listen to that. So I had to practice slowing down,
Mhm.
listening to the cues of my body and start trusting that.
Mhm.
And then acting on it. And so it took me quite some years that I developed confidence in my voice, that I say, oh no, wait, slow down, give me a moment to breathe. Okay. All right. No, okay. I think I desire this. Or yes, let's continue what we're doing. And I still need to manage that because automatically I go in my head and I go quiet. It's not second nature in the sense that, I was just very trained and conditioned to not speak.
Mhm.
So every time now I speak, I'm quite good at doing that now in intimate moments. Yet the pitfall or the habit, you could say, is still there of not speaking. So I have to bring myself each time.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It's a great example
Mm,
in terms of, and I love that there's the progression that goes with that, and
mm.
sometimes it's still good. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it's something that's
Yeah.
more practice.
Yeah, it is. It's continuous practice. I think the moment you say, I'm there, you stop being open to look what's actually in front of you, what's there still to grow in. I mean, relationship change, it's an illusion that. And I mean, that's also what we're going to talk about, right? Like relationships change, maybe form changes or context changes. So things change or shift in the relationship. So intimacy shifts and changes with that, and also your own preferences. So it's really important to stay curious about, well, what's showing up this time and have tools to work with what's showing up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. So I'm just scared because we also okay. So I have a baby, which is a whole new world of um, waking up early, managing sleep, and the connection with my partner. But you also starting. You said you're going to get married. You're now engaged, and so that also brought up things for you that were unexpected. I think, and they're right.
Absolutely. I mean, so my partner and I, just for a little context, we've been together for 27 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we've our relationship, talk about changing and new practices and new things. You know, we were non-monogamous up until COVID.
Mm.
Then we became functionally monogamous. Um, and so but so over those 27 years, we've had, I would say, at least 5 different distinct periods of time.
Yeah.
There was the new relationship energy and the honeymoon. There was the sort of, maturing phase. There was, the phase where we had other lovers and,
Mm.
more expanded relationship.
Mm.
Um, we had disconnection. And,
Yeah.
I like to say, well, I don't like to say, but I used to say that when I first started leading Tantra Speed Date, um, was a point in our relation was a very low point in our relationship. We were really pretty disconnected. And through my leading Tantra Speed Date, I was like, oh, if I'm going to lead this here, I really need to bring it into my own relationship.
Mm.
Some of the practices that I was teaching, um,
Yeah.
here, I needed to bring into my own relationship. And as I did, it again shifted and changed. And then,
Wow.
um, you know, then we had the COVID period, which was really interesting because I used to travel a lot, or I
Mm.
would probably be gone about a week out of the month. And then here we were during COVID, or both home and both together. And it was kind of like, oh, who are you?
Yes.
Interesting being here. Oh,
I think a lot of people, a lot of couples actually were confronted with that. Like suddenly 24/7. That's a different different aspect to discover again from yourself or about yourself and in the dynamic in the relationship. Yeah. And so great that you said, "Who are you?" You might be like, "What? How can she say that after plus 20 years of relationship? How can you say, who are you?" Well, actually, I think it's a very great question. It's actually it's actually a you could ask it from who are you? And I'm totally disconnected to who are you actually? Like I'm curious again about who you are.
the other side of that is, who am I here? You know,
Yeah.
like, because, you know, 27 years, I've changed just a tad. Um,
Mhm.
I look back on some of the ideas I had about relationship and who I was and the world around me, and some of those are still very much in play, and others are a little bit like, huh, that was an interesting period of time. It's
Yeah.
interesting how many things will cycle back in. Uh,
Mm.
I'm thinking, for instance, this is so Santa Cruz, but I started going to drum circles again, right? And it's so funny because it's something that I, as a younger person in my 20s, I had this sort of like, I wanted to go play, but at the same time, I had a little bit of disdain and was a little bit like, oh no, those people.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's something I actually went ahead and sat down and joined the circle, and was terrible and awesome and everything in between. Um,
Mm.
it's a really interesting practice of I mean, drumming in and of itself is pretty awesome, but, like, doing it in a circle and doing it with other people and all of the you have to listen, you have to respond. So
Mm.
it was a good experience.
Wow, that's so great. That's really cool. Thank you. Great, good. And now you're at a stage where you're going to get married, right? So so something then you started to inquire into something because there's something unexpected for you came up. Can you say a bit about what came up for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of my ideas about marriage and what it is and who it's for and why people do it is, I should say, is really up because,
Yeah,
so I did what I do, which is I started researching and I started looking at like, oh, you know, this is what marriage looked like 20 years ago. This is what marriage looked like 50 years ago. This is what it looked like 200 years ago. And just
yeah,
the progression from, um, what was expected and what it was about. Back in the day, marriage was really about bringing two groups of people together.
yeah,
And, over the last, I think it was, 150, 200 years, it's morphed into this more romantic, love based experience.
yeah,
And so it's really different. Um, and we still carry a lot of different baggage. It has its baggage and it has its excitement to it. Uh,
yeah,
it's fascinating. People often, when I say, "Oh, yeah, we're getting married," it's like they often assume that my partner was the one who was more of a holdout, and actually, I wasn't that interested in getting married because I had a lot of baggage around what it is,
yeah,
and what it meant to be a wife and giving for me, it felt like giving up an identity that I really liked.
yeah, yeah. So what's that about? Like, it's so like the word wife carries a certain it's almost a world that comes with it. Like married person, wife. It comes with a world that has short sides that maybe I shouldn't say, but I will do it anyway. When I heard about kink and BDSM, I was introduced to somebody who was very much into kink and BDSM. And for me, the cliche was always kink and BDSM is this lady in a black leather with a whip yelling at you on high boots. Well, that was the cliche. And I mean, I love theatrics, right? It might be part of that, but not only, right? And I discovered, oh my God, kink is a whole world. It's a whole expression. You can find your own flavor. But it came with an image or a world that was just there for me immediately. So what's there for you immediately when you hear wife? Like what is there? Like just
It's
automatic.
it's so funny. What comes up when you ask me that is the difference between girlfriend and wife,
Mm,
right? And for me, apparently wife has a lot of heaviness to it and
yeah.
a lot of structure and expectation in a way that girlfriend doesn't have. Like, and I feel like the um there's just a way that I've associated wife as not being as much fun.
Yeah. What's the burden or what's the not so fun part that comes automatically with wife?
Oh, well, there's a lot of obligation.
Mm,
There's a lot of, things that, you shouldn't do.
mm,
It's a very interesting, as I'm sitting here, it's a very interesting, very tight definition. Um, being more of service versus, your own
mm.
pleasure. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, apparently there's a lot wrapped up in all of that. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting, because of course, as I'm talking, what also is coming up is this idea that, um, for women, we often have these dichotomies, sort of the whore or um, the the virgin or the Madonna, right? So
Yeah.
like those
Yeah.
are the two classes that were often offered. Um,
Yeah.
and apparently I've got, more of a pull towards the whore than the Madonna.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun. Yes. Yeah, yeah. And so wife is definitely you don't have it as the horny wife. You
Right.
don't have it like the wife is it's almost like, and I might be exaggerating, but almost obedient, passive, adapted, for the man, for the husband, but
Mhm.
definitely not for you.
Yeah.
Now, and everybody listening, this is not the truth. We're just exploring what comes up automatically when we inquire into this. What is this concept or context of wife? What comes up automatically, right? Like, yeah,
And again, as I'm talking, there's this kind of I'm a little surprised that it's that polarized.
yeah,
Because I work with couples all the time, and I work with
yeah,
this concept all the time. Of course, when one puts the mirror on themselves or the spotlight on themselves, it's always a little bit different. But
yeah,
yeah, and I'm just as we're talking, I'm wondering. I'll have to ask Neil, like, what is his idea of a husband?
yeah.
Because, as I'm talking, I'm like, I don't even I hadn't even thought about what my expectation might be as that changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it comes with different expectations. I think that's where you bring out like different labels or context and create different expectations in ourselves. Right. So, yeah, you might have an expectation of him as your husband. It's also worth looking at, okay, what do you expect him from him maybe now as husband? Or what does he actually expect something now as the wife? Right? Often we do not talk about expectations. We assume the other knows that we look at the thing the same way. So it's so great. It could be like, what's coming up for you? And, when we become wife and husband, like any expectations showing up, it's a great question to be curious about. Is there what's coming up? And do you expect something differently from me? Or you say, no, not at all, but it's
Well,
worth
I mean,
asking.
it's funny because as we've had conversations, we've had a couple of premarital counseling sessions, uh,
Mm,
which have been really interesting. But, for the most part, a lot of we've had a lot of the hard conversations, right?
mm,
Had a lot of the conversations and the experience around money, around, sex, around the dishwasher. And, we have a lot of those pretty well handled,
yeah.
you know, and what's very curious uh, about what's come up in couples counseling, um, is kind of going back to the practices idea. It's like we both have really solid practices on our own, and so
Yeah.
when we come together, we have a way to play with each other. And
Mm,
what I mean is, so he's a martial artist, he's an aikidoist, and he's had
mm.
that practice for over 30 years, right?
Wow.
There's certain things, and concepts that come off the mat that are very much about relationship and, how energy moves and how you come together and how you part. You know,
Yeah.
in my practice, I've been exploring tantra and kink and relationship and all the good stuff for, about the same amount of time. So,
Yeah.
while our concepts may be similar, they have different flavors to them. And so, having that solid uh, practice on our own, we can come together in a different way. And of course, I've treated our relationship as kind of a lab of like, ooh, what happens if we do this? And it's like, hey, babe, and some of these experiments have worked better than others.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So yeah, so
And
that's
now in the prospect of getting married, did that change? Did you notice you're suddenly more careful with the lab or the experiments? Do you notice you're actually acting differently now, or it actually didn't change for you?
no, I think most of what really, most of the charge is just the stuff that I bring with me from my baggage around what marriage is,
Yeah,
my baggage around what, wife and concept is. And,
yeah,
it's particularly interesting right now because here in the States, we've got people talking about like, if you're married, your husband is going to carry the boat and there's one boat per household and things that I never in my lifetime would have imagined.
yeah,
So, while I'm having all of my own internal angst, there's also this external angst about
yeah,
like, could it possibly happen that
yeah,
something that is so fundamental as, voting rights could be deferred to my husband?
yeah, yeah. So there's actually in,
We've totally had that conversation,
of
we
course, yeah,
totally had the conversation of like, if if this were to happen, what would you think? And so, that's
yeah,
a bit interesting.
yeah. So there's real in the world change or impact on how things are handled. Like in the Netherlands too, when you're married, there is differences in how taxes are handled or how certain if something happens to you is managed, right? How things are handled legally, right? So things change when suddenly you're married, not suddenly, but you're married and suddenly the legal system around you shapes and it actually has real world impact. Yeah. Yeah, so that's also definitely to take into account. Oh, okay, is that actually also what we want, right? And so, how did you come to the desire of getting married? What
Well,
was then the yes to it?
yeah, so we've been talking so during COVID, I we did our a lot of legal paperwork. We did our wills, we did our medical stuff where it's like, this is the person I want to make the decisions for me. Um,
Yeah,
and and our lawyer was like, well, if you guys got married, this would be a different process. And we're like, okay, good to know.
yeah,
Fully noted. And we've kind of had conversations along the way. But what happened was we were walking in, so we have a CSA share, which means that we there's a farm near us, and we go to the farm once a week during the summer, during harvest season, and pick up our share of the vegetables, essentially.
mm, mhm,
So we were at this farm, which is really beautiful, and he asked me, well, what would you think about getting married at Michael's house, which is this friend of ours who has a beautiful space, you know?
mm,
And I was like, I actually, I paused for a moment and I
mm,
felt in, and I didn't have any resistance. And I
mm.
was like, oh, I'm a yes, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I was a little bit surprised by that. And so I was like, huh, that sounds like a really great idea. And so then like 2 weeks later, he looks at me and he was like, did we just agree to get married?
yes, yeah,
And we're like, yeah, I think we did. And so, another 2 weeks go by and it was like, well, shall we plan something?
yeah,
So that's our version of asking and agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny because probably a lot of people now are like, "What? That's not the way you ask somebody to marry you, right? That's not the way you should do it." Right? And we come immediately to the shouldn't about how it should look like. Well, and then it brings us back to like, oh, well, how does marriage should look like? There's actually no should. There is actually your creation of it.
Absolutely. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn the thing on you. How did you guys are married, right? You and your partner.
No, we're not actually. No, we're not married. We have what we call it in the Netherlands. We do have a kind of a contract for living together. I don't know how to translate that, but we're not married. No.
But and you have a baby together.
We do, yeah. So, and I actually bought a house, which basically feels like marriage. But yeah, and we have a baby together. So, um, we actually last year been through that process also to for with the will, right, and the living will about who's going to make medical decisions and all that kind of thing. If I'm not capable, or if my partner is not. So, uh, yeah, so that's been there too. And actually, it's funny. Like, don't have a immediate desire to get married.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't mind to be asked very romantically. Right? But my partner, for example, has no interest in it. Right.
Hmm.
So yeah. And actually, yeah, we never really explored it more than this.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so that's the status of our relationship. We're in a relationship. And it's funny because you talked about girlfriend, wife, as if before engagement you were girlfriend. Would you still refer to yourself as a girlfriend?
Um, it's funny. In the language that I use, I've always used partner.
Yeah, yeah,
And what's interesting from that is that, like, I think back to when I started using partner, and it was a very conscious decision. And
yeah,
it was like back, I mean, 30 years ago. So a while. But it was the term that gay people used or queer people
yeah,
used to describe their relationship, right?
yeah.
And so that's what I did at the time. And I use that term partly because it was what the people around me were using, but also because it was a very edgy term to use at that time.
Mm,
And I hadn't thought about that in a really long time. But
yeah.
that's what I tend to use. So
Yeah, well, the reason I'm asking because for me, I also refer to my partner as my partner, right? We're not, he's not my husband, but boyfriend sounds a little bit immature at this moment, right? 11 years in and having a baby, so it's yeah. So that made me curious. Like, is there a way you label it or name it? And yeah, partner feels for me it's more yeah, it's more like committed. Like,
mhm,
it's my partner, my life partner. Um, yeah, and I didn't know as much, about the whole context. Only later I heard it was what more the queer or gay community would use to refer to their romantic life partner too. And only later I discovered that. So for me, it was more like, well, I need to give it a word. He's my partner, so he's my partner.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I think just when I think about just the difference between the term partner and wife, uh,
yeah,
you know, partner feels more like there's some more equality there. Like there's
yeah,
we're both bringing something to the table, and as husband and wife as well. But like partner feels more like the daily. I was going to say the daily that you're in for the daily grind.
yeah. It's so funny because when the moment we started talking about partner, wife, I noticed that too. I was like, oh yeah, partners just feel equal. Life is not equal. Like that, I started to notice my conditioning around, oh yeah, wife. Yeah, partners, then you're equal, but a wife is definitely something else.
Hmm. Well, and another part of this is interesting. Is like being in the tantra world.
Yeah.
And, there's the dynamic of the masculine feminine and the masculine feminine. And the way that I think about that is more on the energetic level. It's
Mm,
absolutely not gender oriented.
yeah.
I certainly have the both energies, as does my partner, or as does my fiance.
Yes.
I really I've only got 2 more months before we're married, so I really need to work the fiance thing.
Just out of curiosity, how does it feel when you say fiance in your body?
Ah,
It's like, all right, tell me about your fiance, Deborah.
well, it just like there's something there's it's got a giddy feeling to it.
Hmm.
Um, but it's such an odd, like the word doesn't fit very well in my mouth.
Yeah.
It's like it does roll off the tongue, my fiance. Um,
Yeah.
Whereas, but I've been using partner for 27 years. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's an interesting kind of like, oh, it's a transition. It's certainly a transitional word that I haven't quite mastered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I imagine saying wife or husband will be also different. Like, I am this person's wife, I'm this person's husband. We're also gonna feel very different.
Yeah. I mean, I like there is something, not that I didn't think about this before, but there does feel like something more solid and permanent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a till death us part,
That's true.
right?
Yeah,
It's a declaration. It's actually a declaration to the community in a certain way that marriage is a declaration.
well, and that's, we've talked a lot about like what is it for us, and
Yeah.
um for him, he's very clear, like, this is an affirmation of what is already here.
Yeah.
And it is a public affirmation. So I think that's
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, because that's actually like besides all what's automatically there, right? There can be automatic fears coming up. There's automatic images of what you should do or shouldn't do. Um, and as you're aware of that and you kind of let that be, is there a vision you have of what your expression of it is? Is there anything maybe it's just being the exact same way that you are now. Or maybe there is a new flavor you're creating or your starts to arise around, oh, but that's my flavor, my expression of life.
yeah. Hey, it's funny. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
That's the other kind of interesting thing about this is there's a place of like I don't know, and I won't know until
Yeah.
I do it. You know,
Very true. Yeah.
um, and I'm imagining it's much the same as being a mom.
I was just about to say, it's exactly, I had an idea and a vision of, okay, this is who I'm going to be as a mother, right? There was a certain believe how I want to create an environment for my child to grow up in, who I want us to be as parents. And then the baby was there, and we had to deal with whatever babies give you poop, sleepless nights, puking, right? Lovely moments. He said his first words, crying, crying. That words, actually, he did his first set, words not yet, but he'll crying, 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 right? Or he smiled at us. So, yeah, it's very living it is where we discover it. That's what I've done. And actually being grounded in a certain vision or a vision of who am I as a mom did help me to make choices and stand. And when I was challenged, I did have an anchor or I had a place to come back to. Right. So it did give me a place to look from um while dealing with the reality of becoming a mom and dealing with that in the relationship, and raising a little baby, taking care of a little baby.
So I have to ask, tell me a little bit
Sure.
about like your vision of being a mom and what you're providing.
Yeah. It actually, I started the inquiry with what is it that I don't want, right? It's like the automatic what comes up, just as we look at wife, for me, the automatic is like, oh, yeah. The automatic that parents say is, well, you don't have a life anymore when you have children. Right? Or the general narrative is like, well, whatever you want to do, you have to put it on hold for the next 18 years until your children are out of the door, right? Your life is not your own anymore,
Mhm.
and it will be hard,
Mhm.
and you'll suffer.
Mhm.
That's kind of, and of course, and it's all worth it, right? Because then you look at your baby and it's all worth it. Okay. So, and oh yeah, and in your relationship, you'll be mommy and daddy. There will be not much of your relationship left because there's not much left of you, right? So that was what came up for me and what's the cliche or the narrative around becoming parents. And I said, okay, forget about that. I'm going to kick that out of the window because I'm zero inspired by that.
Mhm.
I'm zero interested in that.
Mhm.
Right. So in terms of the relationships that yes, we're parents and we are lovers and partners. So part of us finding our new way as a family is we will make sure we take care of time for each other, right? And we need to figure out how, like, when maybe my mom comes babysitting, or we take the 2 hours to go for coffee. And when baby is little, of course, it's a bit more challenging now. He's getting bigger, but we will not compromise on that, right? That would be like, no, we are first and foremost, we're partners and parents.
Mm,
We're not suddenly disappeared as partners. No, no. We're parents, partners, lovers. So that was definitely a very clear thing. Um, yeah, and the part of like your life is not yours anymore. It's like, no, I chose this. This is very much the life of me. I think you lose a tremendous amount of power when you say, "Oh, I lost my life." It's like, no, you chose this. And if you can hold it as your choice and really stand it, no, I chose this. This is fully my life I chose. Then there's also to look at, okay, well, there's also some other things. I still want to do my business, right? So I can still choose to also be my in my business, being a coach, trainer, intimacy. I need to look how I can make it work, but I can choose that.
mhm,
So, and as a mother, I want my baby to, grow up in a safe, loving environment, and that he can express himself fully, right? An important aspect, I think, in bringing up children is to learn how to regulate emotions. I didn't really learn that when I was little. I had to do a lot of reparenting myself, learning to sit with feelings, feel the feelings, express the feelings without shame, embarrassment, and suppressing it.
mhm,
So I definitely want to create an environment where feelings are normal and talked about. And it's safe to have opinions and differences of ideas. And our fundament is everything can be resolved in communication.
mhm,
We can always come back to connection. So that's the kind of space I want to create. Now, that's all great. And then you're a month after birth and somebody looks and touches your baby in a way that you don't want to. And you're like, get out of here. Get my baby back to me. I hate you. You're all dangerous to my baby. I hate you all. You have to repair.
mm.
I
To say, I think repair is one of the most important skills ever.
yeah.
I feel like, I say this all the time. I was blessed with having to learn how to repair
Mm,
because I was so bad at relationship that I was constantly blowing things up. Uh,
yeah.
I had this moment, I want to say like a couple weeks ago where I was like, you know, oh, the reason that I chose relationship was I was so bad at it that like, I had to.
Yeah.
I had to learn how these skills so that I could actually function in the world because it was just not I just wasn't very good
Mm,
at it. But
I really get that.
I just want to bring the conversation back for a moment because it's like, your desire and your I'm gonna use model, for lack of a better word, of who you
Sure.
wanted to be as a mother. Um, really, like, what I heard was I still want I still wanna be an individual and a full person, and,
Yeah.
um, you know, I'm and I chose this different path. Um, and I'm curious, I know you can't quite speak for your partner and for, uh your co-parent, your daddy, the baby's daddy, but,
Partner. Yeah. Yeah.
partner, I'm curious in some of the conversations, like, what you know, how did that conversation come up for between the 2 of you,
Mm.
and what do you think some of his model ideas were for being a parent?
Yeah. We did talk about that quite a lot about um, what were his ideas about raising a child, what was important to him. Um, and it took some looking, and actually, it's not a conversation he's usually in or really versed in, right? So, and we both had to look at, okay, what's showing up automatically. So for him, it's I just need to look what was there for him. Well, he had a lot of concerns of what he could do wrong. So a lot came from I don't want to do this, or I'm concerned about this, or what if I mess up this? And then we so it's great if that comes up. And then in the conversation, I did want it then to shift it to, but if it's not this, then what is it? Because we can always talk about it's not this, but that doesn't leave us with a clarity or how it then could look like,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, it's not this, but then what is it, right? So then we had to find words. It's like, okay, you don't want him to give up easily, uh, or get stopped to follow his dreams, right? My partner has to deal with that in his life where he gave up certain dreams of his, where because of circumstances in life. It's like, I don't want him to be like that. It's like, okay, then what is it actually that we want to give him, right? So we created, yeah, we're a family where we follow dreams. We talk about our dreams. We look at what do we want, how can we take actions? How can we actually take actions towards our dreams? And we can always change our mind. Um, but there will be a conversation about it in the family about what lights you up? What's important to you? What is your desire, basically? Right? What is your desire? And then look, okay, are we gonna take action on it or not? Which is also fine. But there is a conversation about it, which was very much not there when we both grew up. It was just not a conversation in our families about, well, what really lights you up? It was like, well, no, you go to school, you study, and then you find a job, and then you need to make money and make sure you have a house, and it's okay. Right? There was never a conversation about what lights you up.
Well, and I think, hearing you say that, I think that's a very similar. uh, We're in a time, I would say, where for most of us, not everybody, but most of us, we have more choice about
Yeah.
about the kinds of relationships we have, about the kinds of, what we want to do with our lives and who we want to be. And
Yeah.
on the one side, that's an amazing thing. And on the other side, it's like, we don't have these traditional roles so much anymore.
Yeah.
As you said, it's like it's possible you know, to actually follow your dream versus like, oh, this is the going to school and getting the job and the first job that's offered, and maybe I don't choose to do the art school because being a lawyer is going to make more money and that's what my
Yeah.
does. So
Yeah.
choice is a really interesting, in the choice of, in my case, getting married, and in your case, having a baby. It's like these are choices that, not everybody got married. Most people don't get married at in their late 50s.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny. I was thinking if we waited one more year, I would be getting married when I was 60. Um, which
Yeah.
which is unusual, I mean,
Yeah.
for a first marriage, it's like, yes,
Yeah.
people get married, later in life, but it's usually a second or a third.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the fact that we have so much more choice is, both a beautiful thing, but it can also be, uh, what do they call it? The tyranny of choice. You
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the choice overwhelms us or paralyzes us.
Mhm,
Right. And I think that has a lot to do with we're not connected, right? We are not connected to that actually what lights us up.
mhm.
Right. So then choice is suddenly, oh no, what is the right thing versus, oh no, this is aligned with what lights me up, or this is aligned with what I want to create in the world.
Did you always wanna be a mother and have a baby?
Um, no, not I wasn't so much busy with it. In my previous relationship, I actually knew, no, I don't want to have a baby. And I always thought, oh, I guess I might not want babies. But then that previous relationship ended. And then I realized, oh, I actually want a baby. So it came later in life.
Mhm.
Um, or in my 30s. I wasn't, some women are really like, look, want to have babies, right? From a very young age. And that was not there for me. But there was definitely, when was that? I mean, this must be 15 years ago. I mean, 10. Anyway, no. Anyway, maybe end of my 20s that I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I might actually want a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then this current relationship started. And then 5 years in, we're like, you know what? I think we do want a baby now, right? We started to have the conversation. Now, we then had to, it took us 5 years to have the baby, which is a different story. But yeah, it was, it started to come up. It was not always there. So, but the choice was very deliberate, was very conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, how has being a mother changed you? Like, what has motherhood brought up and up for you?
Changed me, right? Well, I understand other mothers better. It's like, and I understand couples with children better. Like, so there is a more compassion. So that I think shifted compassion for parents, compassion towards my parents. Um, suddenly you have this little baby, there's no manual, and you need to figure it out. And it's scary at times. I really had to learn, like I said in the beginning, I um I saw unpleasant habits of mine coming up, how I wanted to control it all, how I was how I made people tiptoe around me, not to want me to explode to them because they didn't do the right thing with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So that I had to grow there to allow people to support me.
Mm.
So I had to, because I had to, right? There was this, I needed the support because that's what we needed. Couldn't take care of the baby on my own. And so there was things I had to let go of, like no fears, how other people would, would be with the baby. Um, I also have to learn to also be clear in certain really important things like, oh, if you're taking care of my baby, this is like, it's the kind of boundaries, like hard, or not even boundaries, but when you negotiate play in kink and BDSM, there's things that are like hard boundaries or yeses and nos, and some are malleable,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was like, oh, I discovered, okay, no, these things are actually really, really important to me. This is just, I need to let you know when you interact with my baby, this is how I want you to do it. Can you do that? And other things, you're more free to do it your flavor. So, yeah. So how did it change me? Well, yeah, and then the last aspect of that, or one for now, is that finding my voice. I'm now in a new place of, oh, um, I want to speak up for myself. I want to stand in the world. If I want to teach my baby to stand up for himself, express himself fully, I have to be that example.
Mm.
So I found places where I'm afraid to speak, where I hold back my voice, where I don't want to rock the boat, and that's been confronting. So I've been taking on, but I've been looking at it from a more gentle place. So I've been found I can be more gentle if I want to.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm noticing that we're kind of getting towards the end of our time, and
Yeah.
I just want to piggyback on that and just say, if there's one thing that you want people to get out of our conversation, what might that be?
Mm. First thing is that you can have fun and it can be great to actually also question what's automatically there. Like it's okay. So it doesn't have to feel threatening to question, oh, what's my perception of life? What's my perception of being a mother? Can I question these things in a light and fun way? And then really look, is that, are these ideas actually aligned with me? Do I want to keep them? Great. Do they empower me? Great. But if you feel like, oh goodness, the image of being a mom losing her life, actually, you know what? I'm not so interested in that. I'm going to kick that one out. I'm not going to keep it around. I'm going to challenge that narrative,
Mhm.
right? When then friends come like, oh, you poor you don't have a life anymore. I'm like, no, no, I'm exactly where I want to be. Thank you. Right? It's like, and you know what? You can do that too, right? And then I'm poking them a little bit, but I think it's really, really created the way you want it. Really, you don't have to be defined by societal roles that are shoved in your face, and everybody says it's going to be this way.
Right. Right.
Anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, hearing you say that again, it makes perfect sense because, that's kind of what I teach, right?
Yeah.
Like, I teach, you get relationship and sex on your terms, what works for
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I would have, I would do this anyway, but it's good to bring those words and that consciousness to the idea of, I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to step into this place. I'm excited to see what's on the other side.
Yeah.
It may be, but I know it'll be way better than I expect it to be, way different than I expect it to be. And, I'm looking forward to being with what's actually there. Um,
Mm.
so I'm open to change. I'm excited about it. And it's fun getting to plan um
Yeah. Yeah.
different pieces that get with it. So yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, I mean, oh my goodness, 2 months. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hear how it's going, what's developing, how the day's gonna be and look like, what you're gonna do and create together. And then I'm pretty sure we connect after a while and then see what happened. Did anything change or what shifted for you?
I love it. And I love the idea of having another conversation in another 6 or 8 months to see where it
Yeah,
goes at. That'll be super.
yeah,
So
yeah,
tell people where they can find you and what you're up to in the world.
yeah. So you can find me on my website, turnonnl.com, or Turn on the Netherlands on Instagram, Facebook, um, and so intimacy, relationship coaching, sexuality. I do that remote via Zoom, but also in person. So, but you would have to come to the Netherlands because I'm in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Okay. So, yeah, it's really about you being free to really create the intimate life you love, the relationships you love, whatever form they might take, from monogamous to open, polyamorous. And, yeah, and feel free to reach out. You can just have a short inquiry conversation with me and say, "Hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Is that something you could work on?" And then we take it from there.
I love that. And I'm I'm so happy that you're doing this work in the world. And for those of you who haven't met Marha, I'm so glad that you got a chance to have a taste of her here on this conversation and highly recommend that you follow and like and connect with her. And if you have gotten something out of this conversation, please like, subscribe to this channel because it helps get the word out and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. On that note, thank you so much for listening to the Better Sex podcast, and I look forward to connecting with you either on or in the school community or wherever it is that you get your podcast. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.